Okay, welcome. I'm so happy to be back with you today. On behalf of the Buddhist Association of the United States, the Chuanyen Monastery in Carmel, New York, and the Wuju Memorial Library, I welcome you all back to Pali Summer Intensive with Chuanyen Monastery. This is our class number 9 of 10, our initial set. And we've been working with the Ger and Karunatilaka book. And I hope you can see this lovely slide on my screen, which is not my slide. I take no credit for it. It's from a website created by a wonderful monk named Venerable Ananda Jyoti. And he has this website called Photo Dharma. And he has another very wonderful website called Ancient Buddhist Texts. And so I hope you can find that at some point. And so we're going to launch into our lesson 2 initial readings. And so I thought I would talk a little bit about the grammar. There's a massive amount of grammar in this chapter. I was wondering if I was going to get hate mail because of the amount of grammar in this chapter. Just tables and tables of it. It's sort of a giant download of grammar here. And so we're just going to deal with it in a sort of a slightly light fashion. I'm not going to talk about it all because then I think everyone would sign off immediately. And so maybe we'll skip over some, or maybe even most of the tables for now, and talk about a few of these very important grammatical points. So we have already discussed with Pali Primer the infinitive, which ends in tung, and we have a list here of ways of forming it and examples of irregular forms, which some of them you should know because we have discussed it in Pali Primer. And we sort of glossed over a little bit the meaning of it in various ways because I felt that it was somewhat intuitive to English language speakers, the way the infinitive works. But here they have given us two somewhat distinct uses of the infinitive, both I think of which represent how it also is used in English. And so here we have it first. The infinitive can be used dependent on a main verb as an expression of purpose. I'm here in section 4.2. And so we have this sample sentence, Buddhang datung gacchami. I am going to see the Buddha. So notice here in this type of construction, the infinitive is functioning very much like a dative because of that word to. And so one of the ways the infinitive works is as a dative, as a sort of substitute for a dative, or another way of doing the dative. To see. I'm going to see. Another way, which is the way I think we're going to have in our reading today, it says dependent on an adjective like baba in the appropriate meaning, generally like that of an English infinitive, like to go. And in this example, we have papanako ababo an adigatang bogang adigantung. And so the word for merchant is a papanako, and he's being described, and we're going to talk about how this works in just a second, as a bubbo, incompetent. And then we go to the end of our sentence, which is adigantung, to acquire. Wealth, bogang, takes the accusative, and it's being modified by unadigatang, not acquired. So literally it says merchant, incompetent, to acquire wealth, not acquired. But as you notice, it's sort of filled out a bit in English to make better sense. The merchant is incompetent to acquire wealth that he has not yet acquired. And we're going to look at this again in our reading. So that's the infinitive. Another very important concept to know about a grammatical type of structure we find very often in Pali is called an equational sentence. And I find this explanation a little bit complicated. Unless you're a logician or a grammarian, you might not have fully understood what they are talking about here. I'll try to explain it also myself. And so what they say is equational sentences are those in which a noun or adjective expression is predicated of the subject. And so what that means is predicated of the subject means something that is equated with it. And so in the English sentence they give, Harry is a carpenter. The subject, Harry, is being equated with this word carpenter. He is a carpenter. And that is another way of saying that is that it's being predicated of the subject. But that's much less important to know. The important thing to know is that the verb to be in English is not required in the Pali language. It could be there, but it doesn't have to be. And so the verb to be, which is called, the fancy word for that is a copula, also not so important to know, but just know that the copula, the verb to be, is not required to make a Pali sentence. And so it's also often omitted. And so we have to sort of mentally put it in if we're thinking in an English language type of way. And so here we have a few examples from our readings. Eso damo sanantano. So eso is a pronoun meaning this. And with the e in front of the so, which I think you probably recognize so as this, it's sort of giving a sense of a closer, like this very. Eso dhammo, this doctrine, sanantano. So sanantano is a word that is going with dhammo, but notice there's no verb here, but the verb is. So eso dhammo sanantano would be translated as this doctrine is eternal. So we just know that this is being equated, and notice that whatever is on the other side of the missing is matches in case. It's not, for instance, in the accusative case. It matches in case with what's being predicated, so to speak. And so here we had the sentence a moment ago, Ayang papanako ababo. This merchant is ababo, incompetent. And so here, again, we're not seeing a verb, but we're sort of mentally inserting the verb for our English language translation. This merchant is incompetent. And finally, we have kichang jivitang. Jivitang is life. It's a neuter noun. Is difficult, kichang. So notice here, first of all, we can reverse the order, no problem. We don't have to say life is difficult. We could say difficult is life. And we don't need the is. So it's just simply omitted. And that's called an equational sentence. There's another example here given in reverse order, which I think I'll skip for now. Let's see, what else would we're going to talk a bit at the end of the session about the correlative construction. It's a very important way of doing grammar in Pali. I'll just mention two more quickly from this giant list. The reflexive prefix sa. So the prefix sa can take many meanings, 3 or at least 4. But in this case, in our reading, it has the sense of one's own. So when it's prefixed or put upon another noun, it could mean one's own. So here we have sachitang, one's own mind. And the final one we'll take is the accusative of time. And so this is an important concept. I think we mentioned this before. when we talked about the beginning of the very beginning of the Anguttara Nikaya. We looked at that sort of setup, and we had Evang Me Suttang, of course, and then we had Ekang Samayang Bhagava Savatiyang Viharati. Ekang Samayang, on one occasion, and those words are in the accusative case, and he was dwelling at Savatthi. And so a very typical way to express time is to place that into the accusative case. But the thing to note is that it's not really an accusative of a verb. It's not the object of a verb. It has a more adverbial sense, and adverbs typically in Pali will be found in the accusative case. So this is another way of using the accusative case. Aside from being the direct object of a verb, it also expresses time, and we'll see that. So here we have Pubang Samayang. So that's that word Samayang. And it means, well, here it says in the forenoon. For me, it's easier to think about it by saying it's in the morning. In the forenoon or in the morning. So that's a bit of the grammar. That's sort of a very quick glimpse of the massive grammar. But I thought it'd be more fun to sort of look at the Pali and figure out the grammar from the Pali rather than just speaking about Pali for a long time. And so here is our initial readings. And this is from the most famous, probably, I'm not quite sure, but it's probably one of the most well-known Buddhist texts, that is namely the Dhammapada. And I thought it'd be interesting, just for a minute as an aside, to give you a quick break from grammar, to talk about the name Dhammapada. And so I looked up the word pad, or this idea of a word pad, in the etymological dictionary. And this is what came up. So this is Etymology Online. And here we have this, and we've talked about at the very beginning of these sessions, the idea of Proto-Indo-European, the sort of mother language that so many languages around the globe have sprung from. And this is how we spoke about that Pali and Sanskrit and English are related. And so here, this root, ped, means foot, and has all these words that are in English that have this root as a part of it, like biped, or expedition, or impede, or centipede. And there's so many that I have never even heard of. I mean, I never thought they were actually related to ped. But it's very interesting to me that it says here at the bottom, it is the hypothetical source of, or the evidence for its existence is provided by the Sanskrit pad and the accusative padang, foot. And so here we have the same root in Sanskrit and Pali and in English. And so the word pad or pada in Pali can take several meanings. And probably the most basic meaning is the foot meaning the part of the body. Another meaning can be a step. And I thought of this because on the other day, Venerable Bodhi was talking about in his class about the word sikkapada. And the word sikkapada consists of what's part of the verb sikkati, which is to train, and this word pada, which means a step. And he talked about how this word means a training rule or a precept. This is the word that's generally translated as precept, but it literally means a step in the training, or a step towards the training, depending how one would like to look at it. And he talked about how the idea of sikkapada, training rule or precept, is sort of the forerunner for sila. And he said how sila proper, this word that is often translated as virtue, but sometimes literally translated as precepts, how it's not quite right perhaps to translate sila as precepts, because precepts are sikkapada. And the training rules are sort of the forerunner for virtue that help build sila. So this is just, I bring it up simply because it's another usage of the word pada, sikapada. And if you ever have taken your precepts in Pali, you have said this word, probably numerous times. Okay, and so now going back to Dhammapada, another meaning which is shared with English is of pada, or foot, is the meter or the word. And so we can translate perhaps, as it's sometimes translated in a very literal sense, Dhammapada is the word of the doctrine. And so it's interesting how the word foot can mean the meter of a text, and then it could actually mean the word of a text. And so we might translate Dhammapada as the word of the doctrine. We know that Dhamma is often translated as doctrine. And these are verses, which means they are in a specific meter. In fact, they're in a meter called the shloka meter, which is very much like iambic meter in English language, like Shakespeare loves to write in iambic pentameter. And the rhythm is the sort of considered to be one of the most natural rhythms of poetry, which is ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. And so the stress is on the second of the two groups. And so we hear our first verse from Dhammapada, this is number 182, is Kicho manu sapati labo, kichang machanang jivitang, kichang sadhamma savanang, kicho buddhanang upado. So what does that mean? Well, there's a lot to see here from a grammatical point of view, and the word kicho means difficult. It also could mean rare. And so notice in this first line, there's no verb, and it's an equational piece of a sentence. These two words are equated. And so manusa is a person, and pati labo is the attainment. And so when we put these two words together, the attainment of a human life, or the attainment of a human being, is difficult. So notice how in English I need to insert that verb, but in Pali not necessary. And they both match in this masculine nominative case with that O. Our second sentence, kichang machanang jivitang. So difficult again. And then we have our word over here, life. It's in the neuter. So jivitang is a neuter nominative, and it's matched by this word, which is of mortals. And that would be genitive plural. I hope you recognize the anang ending. And so a macha is a mortal, which is rather much a cognate. It comes from the word marati, which is a verb, to die. I think the root is not that. Myrrh. So mortality, mortals, maybe even in the Lord of the Rings, Mordor, the death place, is all related to macha, which is a mortal being, a being that has to die. And so that's the meaning of the second line. Then we have kichang sadhamma savanang. So here we have another compound in the neuter nominative being equated with kichang, difficult. Notice how the word is shifting in its ending based on what it's being equated with. So the sadhamma, the good dhamma, the true dhamma, and savanang is hearing. So it's difficult to hear the true dhamma. And finally, kicho buddhanang upado. So the arising, the upado, of buddhanang, genitive plural. So notice it's interesting here that the word is buddhas, of buddhas, it's plural, is difficult. And so that's our first our first look at Pali verse ever. Our first stanza. I'll read to you. I like the translations of Glenn Wallace, and I'll read to you his translation just for a comparison. Difficult is the attainment of a human birth. Difficult is the life of mortals. Difficult is the hearing of the good way. Difficult is the appearance of those who have awakened. So notice here in his last sentence, he's actually translating the word Buddha. He puts it all fully in English. Difficult is the appearance of those who have awakened. And of course those people are the Buddhas. Okay. No problem. And here's the next one. Sabha papasa akaranang kusalasa upasampada sachitta paryodapanang etang buddhanang sasanang. So here we have a negated word which is based on the verb karoti, to do. So this is the non-doing from sabba, which means all, and papa, which is evil, found here in the genitive. Notice how it's singular, because it's sort of one thing, all evil, even though it means a lot of things. Because of this word sabba, it is expressed in the singular, because evil is a singular noun. It's not evils. And then we have here this word upasampada. It's a feminine noun, means the undertaking. It also has a different and more technical meaning, which you may be familiar with, which is the higher ordination of a monastic. That is also called upasampada. We think monks and nuns sort of start measuring their monastic career from the occasion of their upasampada. But here, it's not taking that technical, so to speak, meaning, but rather it just means the undertaking of the kusala, of the wholesome, or of the skillful, genitive. And then we have this one next line is one giant word, sachitta paryodapanang. So here we have this sa prefix, which we spoke about a moment ago, one's own. Chitta we know as the mind, and paryodapanang means purification. So this is one word which means the purification of one's mind. And so it's fun that in Pali we can take all these words, the purification of one's mind, and put it all in one giant word, a neuter noun. Etang buddhanang sasanang. Here, by the way, this ang, this last nasal, is in parentheses because it's often sort of omitted for the ease of the meter. So etang buddhana sasanang is easier to say than etang buddhanang sasanang. It just kind of sticks a little bit more. And so this necessary from a grammatical point of view is often omitted from a recitation point of view. But it doesn't mean that that letter is not there. So the sasana, perhaps we could translate as the teaching. And etang is a pronoun. It means this. It's the same as tongue, but it is prefixed by this e, which has a closer sense. And so you probably have seen in the Ger book, we have two sets. We have the ones without the e and ones with the e. So prefix with the e has this almost the same exact sense, except it has a sense of more close. And notice that it's a neuter, matching the teaching, sasanang. This is the teaching of the Buddhas. And maybe I'll read for you Glenn Wallace's translation of 183. And notice he has a slightly different set of translation choices, which is one of the reasons I'd like to read this to you too. The refraining from all that is harmful, the undertaking of what is skillful, the cleansing of one's mind. This is the teaching of the awakened. Okay, I will ask if there are any questions on these two verses so far. If there were anything that you didn't quite understand from a grammatical point of view, this is your time to find out. But if not, we can go on. Okay. I see one question. Okay, let me unmute you. Li Wen?
Hi, Steve. So for Kicho Manusa Patilapo, so your translation was attainment of human being is difficult, but looks like the answer was the other way around. Like difficult is the attainment of human being. So which one do you think is more correct?
Does one sound different in meaning to you? Do you read a difference in meaning between those two choices?
Yes, I think so. I think your answer is describing that the attainment is difficult.
Yes.
Your answer seems to be okay. Maybe it's the same, huh?
I think it's the same.
Okay.
I mean, and think in normal spoken English, not poetical English, we would say the attainment of a human being or the attainment of human life is difficult. And to say it the other way around is a little awkward in a natural English sense, and it has a more poetic sense. And so it would sort of depend for you as a translator whether you wanted to give it a more poetical feeling or perhaps a more kind of natural English language feeling. But I think the meaning of it should be the same. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, one more question from Sharosha.
Hi, Stephen. I just had a question about sort of that's very same verse. There's Kitcho in the first line, and then the next line is Kitchang.
Right.
Why is it different? Is it because of the grammar agreement, like the noun? I'm not that good at this, so I'm not sure why it's different in each case.
Okay, let me ask you this question. What gender is the word jivitang?
So that would be...
And what case, by the way?
That would be... so jivitang would be the nominative.
Mm-hmm. Nominative.
And so this would be...
But what gender, please?
Gender. I do not know.
Well, if it's nominative and it's not ending in O, it has to be neuter.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so we can say that it's a neuter nominative, jivitang, life.
I see.
And so when it's being equated with this word, it's basically like an adjective, keichang, it has to match.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that's why the first two words match with O, the last two, kicho and upado, match with O, but the middle two match with the ung, and that's because they're both neuter in the middle.
I see.
So remember this idea that adjectives must match the words they describe or modify in case, number, and gender. Okay?
Yes. Okay.
That's the answer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, more questions. Yvonne?
Hi, Stephen. How are you?
I'm fine. What's your question?
So, sir, my question is regarding to Kicho Manusa Patilabo. So in here, maybe perhaps the word birth is included just for translation, right? Only because I'm asking only because in a different language, some would translate as human body. So that's why I was...
I don't think human body would be correct. If you wanted to break up this word, it would be lubbo, which is related to the verb lubbity, to obtain, to get.
Mm-hmm.
And with prefix with the pati. Pati often has the sense of going back. I'm not sure what it means here, but it has this word has the sense of getting or the attainment.
Yes.
We could say human birth. That would be, I think that might capture the meaning, but it's not a very literal translation. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. And we have another question from Susan.
Stephen,
Yes.
would you kindly repeat the first phrase again from Kicho? Just the one.
You mean the English translation?
No, as it is Pali.
What it says in Pali. Okay. It says, Kicho manusa pati labo. Kichang machanang jivitang. Kichang sadama savanang. Kicho buddhanang upado.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay. Then let's go on to the third one. This is from the first chapter in the book, which is called the Yamaka Vagga. And a Yamaka is a pair. It's also the name of one of the 7 books of the Abhidhamma, pairs. And what's interesting is that this is not part of a pair. So not all the verses in this chapter are part of a pair. They're not all paired. And so here, maybe the first thing we should say about this verse is that there's a sandhi, which is a joining together of 2 words in this second line, which we could break up for a second to show how they work. So we have the verb samanti, which is appeased or to seize. And the word ida, which is here, like here and now, in this place. Of course, it doesn't always mean the geographical here. It could also mean like in this case, ida, very common word. And these 2 words are joined because this is verse. And so the I becomes like doubled. Samanti da. So here, appeased. And so here, here, we have the negator na, which is going with the verb. And we have this little bit of a word, which is an intensifier, he. So so Verani is our subject. And notice that it's a plural, although that doesn't really work so well in English, but it is in fact a neuter nominative plural, which the ani ending should tip you off. It should send like a light signal in your brain. Oh, ani, neuter. So this means hostilities or angers, but maybe we can just say hostility or anger, because we don't normally pluralize that word in English. So sometimes in Pali, words are pluralized that we wouldn't do that in English, and so we have to adjust accordingly. So here, anger, na samati, is not appeased here, indeed, he, and then we have our instrumental by anger. Kudachanang, ever. So this is sort of a word that stands alone. I think it's indeclinable. Kudachanang, ever. And then we have this interesting cha, which we've been talking about, how it means and. But when it stands alone, particularly in verse, it also takes the sense of but. So here I think that this cha is better read as but. Samanti, they are, notice the plural, because it's matching Verani, they are appeased by not anger, verena. So this is a negated instrumental singular, right? But they are appeased by non-anger. And then we have Esa Dhammo Sanantano. This doctrine is eternal. Okay, I'd like now to ask for a volunteer to translate this same verse for us in their sort of own way. Would somebody be brave to try that? Okay, I see we have, wow, so many people. Okay, maybe we'll have a few tries. I see the, if I could pronounce it right, Fiacra?
Fiacre, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Fiacra. Oh, I'm getting closer. I still apologize, though.
Oh, yeah, no, you had it right just there, yeah. So it's just the stress on the first syllable.
Fiacra.
Great, thanks.
Okay. Okay, so what was your, please tell me your translation of this verse.
Okay.
And please read it first in Pali.
Okay. I'm going to try it with meter now. Nahi verana verani samantida kudachanang averana cha samanti essa damo sanantano.
Okay.
So the so na being the negation, so no, never with hostility are hostilities appeased.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So never with hostilities, that would be Verena, are Verani, hostilities appease, Samanti, here, or
that's
okay.
right, yeah. Here at any time. Yeah, so I kind of left out, I left Ida untranslated. It didn't sound like, I know it says here, but
yeah,
I just like never.
There's sort of a triple emphasis here. There's the he, there's the ida, and there's the kudachanang. So never, indeed, here, ever. You know, it's a very strong kind of thing.
So and then so here they just mean in this world, or is it just?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, here and like here. I'm not sure what it means. Perhaps it means in this world we live in.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then so with non-hostility, they are appeased.
Yes.
Eternal law. That's
okay. Good. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's fun reading Pali verse now, and thank you very much for your help. Okay, let's try Jillian for another take.
Oh, I'm unmuted. Thank you, Stephen. Is it, I used enmity rather than hostilities. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Nahi Verena Verani Semantida Kuda Chanang Avarena Cha Samananti Esa Damo Sanantano.
Yeah, just one thing I would say is that third line of Verena.
Yes, Avarena.
That's it. How did you translate it?
Not through enmity, through enmities. Sorry, here, it's difficult to know where to put the here, but I think I'll prefix it. Here, not through enmity, do enmities ever cease, but they cease by goodwill. This is an eternal truth.
Okay, so you've chosen to render this Verena on the third line with a different word.
Ah, yes.
That's okay. It's not necessarily wrong. I'm just noticing it as a translation strategy.
Well, we don't have yes, because I used enmities. In English, we don't have a non-enmity.
Yes, that's a good point. I've noticed, just to bring up, that sometimes we see this word translated as love, which is a bit of a stretch. I mean, it's a completely different word. But, this is poetry. And so we do try to make it poetic. Okay. Did you have any questions about it? I think that was good.
No, I didn't. I found these three verses much easier than the long sentences.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad, but poetry is very fun. Let me just read you one more, and then we can move on from Glenn Wallace. Let's see how he did it. He always has very interesting translation choices, so I think it's helpful to hear other people. In this world, hostilities are never appeased by hostility, but by the absence of hostility are they appeased. This is an interminable truth. So that's another choice. I think we should move on. And for those who have their hands up, you can certainly participate by helping to translate this next set of readings, which is about our hapless merchant. And of course, we find here a sort of typical teaching strategy of the Buddha, which is to talk about something somewhat rather mundane as a simile, and then sort of apply that simile to a more deeper meaning for his followers. And so here, there's a lot going on. I did some color coding. I hope that didn't make it seem even more annoying, but if you don't like it, you can look away and look at the text. That's fine too. I won't feel bad. I should maybe say something about the word papaniko, which is built of 3 pieces, which is pa plus the word you might recognize because we had it in Pali Primer, appana. Appana, I think that has a retroflexed N, and, which is a market, or store perhaps, and the suffix ika. And so a market, a store, is an appana. The pa prefix, it has often the sense of going outwards. Maybe it can mean in front of. And the ika makes it like an abstract or an agent noun, a person. And so one, we could maybe say, one who stays in front of a store is a merchant. So that's papanika. And it's a masculine short a. So we have it here in the nominative, papaniko. That's how we find our subject. We look for that O. And here it's being described by 2 other words in blue, which are adjectives. And we have this very important word, which is samanagato, which means endowed with or having. And the important thing to know about this word is that samanagato takes the dative case. It goes with dative. No, that is incorrect. It takes the instrumental. So here, tihi is by 3, or with 3, instrumental. Sorry, I misspoke. It's instrumental. And anga is a quality. Here, ehi, by 3 qualities. So here, a merchant endowed with 3 qualities, we can say. So this is the number 3 in the instrumental. This is also instrumental. Samanagato, endowed with, is, notice how this is equational. There's a missing for us in the English world, is, I put that in sort of a beige color, a bubbo. So the word bubbo, the positive one, is capable, able. But here it's negated. So it's incapable or not able. And then we can go to our verb here in red, which is in the infinitive, adigantung, which is related to the verb adigachati. So here it is to acquire. And what is it taking as its objects? These 2 words in green. Unadigatung bogang. Unobtained or unacquired wealth, boga is wealth, or, hang on a second, or katung, to make, pating, increase, and then we have these two words matching in the accusative. Obtained wealth. And so to maybe read that out in a better flowing English sentence, a little confusing because we have these positive and negatives. I find these a little tricky because of that reason. And so here, a merchant having three qualities, O monks, I should have said, O monks, of course we have to have our vocative plural, is incapable to acquire unobtained wealth or to make increase, or perhaps we could just say better in English, to increase obtained wealth. Adigantang bogang. And so simply saying this monk, when he has these three negative traits, he is not able to make any more money, and the money or the wealth that he has is he's unable to make it any larger. Okay? Let's go on. Katamehi tihi. And so this is a katama, which, this is our interrogative pronoun. We've sort of skipped those massive tables and we're sort of just launching here into the text. We're taking sort of a shortcut for now, just to reduce the load. By which three? Ida, here, in this case, O monks, a merchant, and now we have our accusatives of time. And so our first time period is the Pubangha Samayang. So as we've been saying, a samaya is an occasion, and then the rest of the word is actually a combination of puba, which is before, and aha, day. So that's how we saw that translation in the forenoon. We might just translate it as in the morning. So notice that it's accusative of time, but in English we probably would say something like in the morning. And then we have does not, na aditahi. So this verb means to attend to. It's related to the verb that we've had before, which is titati, which is to stand. But it's, and the prefix adi has the sense of upon. So in a literal sense, maybe we can say it's to stand upon, but really what it means is to attend to. And that is being described by this indeclinable word, sakachang, which is carefully. And what is he not able to carefully attend to? Kamantang, business, his shop doing stuff. So in the morning, he's not able to carefully attend to his business. And then we have our next time period, Majhanika Samayang, in the afternoon or in the midday. This more, the sort of standalone word is Majhantika, which is built up of the Majha, and Anta and Ika. We don't really even need to worry about that. We just need to know that this means in the midday or perhaps the afternoon. And then here our verb again. He does not attend to his business carefully. And finally, our third time period, Sahana Samayang. In the evening time, he does not attend to his business carefully. And so here, now going on to summarize, and I would jump all the way first to our subject, which is our papaniko, a merchant endowed with imehi tihi angehi, these three qualities. So again, I would start with papaniko, our merchant, and then go right next door, samanagato, this adjective which takes the instrumental. These three qualities that's our missing verb, which is, because it's equated with ababo, is unable adigantung, our verb in the infinitive, to acquire unadigantung bogang, unacquired or unattained wealth. Notice this first va is reflected back, and we don't need to translate it here in English. That's a Pali thing. But I would put it here, right after my comma. So now I would move this one over in an English sense. Or to increase acquired wealth, or to make increase of acquired wealth. So I'll first ask if there's anybody who would like to ask a question, because I know this is a little tricky. And then I will take a volunteer to do the second group of sentences. Okay, we have Shirosha again. Is this a question or a volunteering for reading?
Volunteering for reading?
Okay, let me just check if there are any questions from what we've had. Okay, hold on. We have Hitet. Hi. Do you have a question?
No, I volunteer for
Wow, I'm so glad there are not so many questions, but let me just check again. Jillian.
Thank you.
This is a question, Stephen.
Okay. I had a feeling there was going to be a question.
I'm troubled by the idea of an adjective taking a noun in the instrumental case. Does that mean if the adjective was qualifying the subject of the sentence, it wouldn't be in the nominative? The subject wouldn't be in the nominative, it would switch to the instrumental?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I quite understand. I would say for now, just know that this special word, this very word, samanagata, endowed with, and so notice we say with, even in English.
Ah, okay.
Endowed
so
with
subject. Yep. Okay.
Takes what it's going with in the instrumental. So just know that. Okay.
Now it's object, subject, object of a preposition. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay. Now we can move on. We have our two readers. So Shirosha, can you please read the next sentence for us, please?
Eva, excuse me. Eva meva ko bhikkave tihi dhammehi samanagato bhikkhu abhavvo anadigatang va kusalang dhammang adigantum adigantang va kusalang dhammang patim katu.
Right. So here we are now applying this simile to the behavior of a monastic. So please start your translation.
So eva meva ko is like similarly, or monks. Then I would go to the verb, which is adigantum, which is to acquire.
Well, I would start with the noun, the subject.
Now, the subject is the bhikkhu.
The bhikkhu.
The bhikkhu who abhavvo is who is unable.
Yeah, but go backwards first too. Don't forget the samanagato.
Yes, a bhikkhu. So similarly, O monks, a bhikkhu possessing or endowed with
good
the tihi dhammehi, the three states, I guess, or mental states.
Maybe just three qualities.
Qualities, okay.
Or attributes, but okay. Yeah.
Three attributes. Endowed with three attributes.
Is
okay, so then
that's
is,
the missing is in English.
Oops, sorry. Endowed with the three attributes is unable to acquire the wholesome states. So kusalam dhammam, or adigantam va kusalam dhammam patim katum, or to increase or make increase existing wholesome states. Hello.
Oh.
Hello.
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 Have we lost you, Stephen? So people who are in class, we are having a very bad storm right now, and I think that this may have affected Stephen's connection. So let's just hold on and see what happens. And our apologies for this. Let's see what happens. Diane, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Something happened with my microphone. I'm switching over. I hope you can hear me okay.
We can hear you now, Stephen, but also we're having a big storm, so that might have affected your connection.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I hope you can hear me enough.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Shirosha. Could you again start from Bhikkhu Ababo?
Okay, so similarly, O monks, a bhikkhu who is unable to acquire kusala dhamma, so unable to acquire wholesome attributes.
Yes.
Or then you go to the next line, which is or to make increase existing wholesome attributes he's already acquired.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Or to increase acquired wholesome attributes.
Attributes, okay.
Right. Okay, good. Let's then go to our next reader. We have the Tet. If you can unmute, then would you start from Katamehi Tihi?
Thank you, Stephen. Katamehi Tihi. Ida Bhikkhave Bhikkhu Bobana Samayan Na Sakichan Samadhi Nimittam Aditati Majjanika Samaya Na Sakichan Samadhi Nimittam Aditati Sayana Samaya Na Sakachan Samadhi Nimittan Aditati Imehi Ko Bhikkhave.
Let me just stop you there for a second. You're doing great, but let's just translate this bit first.
Sure, thank you. Katamehi Tihi, which three? Which of those three? Which those three?
Yeah, or by with what three, or by what three?
By what three? Yeah. Ida here in this world, Bhikkhave, the vocative, O monks, Bhikkhu, the subject, the doer, the monk, the recluse, Popan na samayam, in the morning time, the accusative of time.
Good.
Na sakichan, na is the negation, sakichan is the adverb, properly, carefully. Samadhi nimittan, the samadhi nimittan, samadhi is concentration, nimittan is the object. So the object of concentration, aditati, attend to, that is the verb of bhikkhu.
So that's the negator, right? Na aditati.
Na aditati, yes.
Right.
So O monks, in this world, the monk who doesn't attend carefully to the object of meditation or concentration in the morning, and then the time majjanika samaya, this is in the middle of the day, in the midday time, na sakichan samadhi nimittan aditati, doesn't attend carefully to the object of meditation. Good. Sahana samaya is like in the evening time.
Good.
Na sakichan samadhi nimittan aditati, doesn't attend carefully to the object of meditation.
Right.
Shall I continue?
Please just do one more sentence. You're doing great.
Sure, thank you. Imehi ko bhikkhave dihi dhammehi samanagato bhikkhu ababo an adhikantam va kusalan dhammang adhikantam va kusalan dhammang padam kadam. imehi ko bikave. Ko is the quotation mark, the conversation marker.
No, no. Ko is just an emphatic. It's just indeed.
This by these three, imehi tihi, by these three, dhamehi, by these three qualities, by these three things. Samanagato bhikkhu, bhikkhu is a subject, samanagato is a modifier of so fulfillment. So I would translate it, I would render among who has fulfilled by these three qualities.
What is among, though? I don't understand.
A monk.
Oh, a monk. I apologize. Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Ababo is the equation of bhikkhu.
Yes.
Is not able, is not competent, and then it comes the two things, the two infinitive things.
Good.
Adhikantong is like to fulfill, and then the object of adhikantong is an adhikantang va kusalan dhamma. An adhikantang not fulfilled, not achieved yet. Kusalang, good, dhamma, things, good qualities.
Yes.
So this monk will not be able to fulfill good qualities that he has not achieved. And is va, adhikantam, already fulfilled, already achieved. Kusalang dhamma, good things. Patang, to make increase, to increase, and then kartong is to do.
Yeah. So for the last clause, I would say or. I would take the va as or in English, or to increase, unattained or unmade adhigantang kusalang dhammang, wholesome qualities. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you, Stephen.
You're welcome. Okay. Well, we're getting to the end of this. I'm not sure if we want to devote so much time. If there's one more, or let me ask if there's Diane, if there are any questions from the YouTube.
No, there aren't any questions, or there have been, but I've been answering them.
Okay. Diane, would you like to take the next one?
About the Tihi Bhikkhave?
Well, it's
where are we now?
It's the third group. It's the positive one. Bhikkhu Babbo.
Evameva ko bhikkhave tihi dhamehi samanagato bhikkhu babbo. That one?
Yes, keep going.
Anadigatang wa kusalam dhammang adigantung adigatang wa kusalam dhammang pating katung.
Yes, what is that?
That is just so, O monks, a bhikkhu, a monk endowed with three attributes. Babbo is able. And I would then go to the infinitive, to obtain.
Okay.
The wholesome qualities, the wholesome state, or
wait, don't forget unadigatang.
The unobtained wholesome state.
Good. The unobtained wholesome states, or good.
Or to make increase, or just to increase the obtained wholesome state.
Right. So notice how this is very similar to our four right strivings. Would you like to continue or keep reading?
And be a hog?
Oh, it's fine. We're doing great.
Katamehi tihi idha bhikkhave bhikkhu puban hasamayan sakachang samadini mitan aditati majanhika samayang he sayan hasa samayang sakacham samadini mitan aditati.
Good. So let me just point out that this pay, which is actually mentioned in our grammar, is the word that's used to, it's short for payalam, And it means that when things become very repetitive, they're often omitted, and this sign peala is inserted instead, which means and so forth. So we are kind of condensing it so we don't have the same thing over and over again. Right. Okay, so what is, please translate.
Katamehi tihi.
Yes.
In the instrumental, like by which three?
Yes.
Here, O monks, a bhikkhu in the forenoon or in the morning. Go to aditati, attends properly to the object of meditation in the morning and in the midday and in the evening. He attends properly to the object of meditation.
Very good.
Imehi ko bhikkhave tihi damehi samanagato bhikkhu babo anadigatam wa kuslam dhammam adigatum wa kusla dhammam patim katum ti. So, O monks, a bhikkhu endowed with these three qualities.
Good.
Is capable, babo, and then adigantam, to obtain.
Good.
The unobtained wholesome dhamma, or to increase, to make increase in the obtained wholesome dhamma.
Excellent. Great job. Thank you so much, Diane. And so I'll just ask if there are any final questions on this set of readings. I know it's a little bit confusing because it's all these positive and negatives, which I guess it's their technique to reduce our vocabulary load, but I see how it can be a little bit puzzling. No questions at all. Okay, well, I guess that means everyone is perfectly fine with this and we can move on. I think I'm going to skip this next set of readings, the third one in the initial, and talk a little bit about the correlative construction. We have it here in the third group of readings, but I find it a little bit confusing, and I think it might be easier if we look at it a slightly different way. And so here, the correlative of a first pass, and we're going to talk about it more next class on Wednesday, but the correlative construction uses the relative and the demonstrative pronoun together in a way that it doesn't correspond exactly to how we would say things in English. And that's why I'd like to discuss it a few times, because speaking from personal experience, the first time I encountered this, I found it a little hard to wrap my mind around. And so let's just kind of skip right to the example. Yang janami tang banami. So it's a little confusing because they reversed the verbs here. So janami is I know, and banami is I say. And so the relative pronoun, which we've had from the first chapter, is that which. So that which I know, tang banami, that I say. So notice that it's a different way of doing business than how we would say it in English. There's an additional pronoun. That which I know, that I say, or that what I say is that which I know. So notice how we have a sort of extra pronoun, and this is how they're going together, the yang and the tongue, the relative and the demonstrative. And so just as we have the yang and the tongue, in the next example, we have yo and so. So yo dhammo sadhammo, so dhammo sanantano. So as it's given and as it says, the relative clause is usually first. So yo dhammo. So yo is our relative pronoun. It means that which. And dhammo is the subject. And it's being modified with saddhammo. So that dhamma, which is the true dhamma. And then we have this extra so. That dhamma is eternal. So I'll translate it again in a literal sense so you get a feel for it. That dhamma, which is saddhamma, the true doctrine, notice it's equational, that dhamma is eternal. And so that is how the correlative construction works. And I think we'll get used to it. I pulled out a very famous example, and I put it at the end of my file here because I thought you might just recognize it. And so this is from a completely different sutta. It's from the Majjhima Nikaya, in a sutta called the Mahahati Padopama Sutta. This is the simile of the large sutta on the simile of the elephant's footprint, Majjhima 28. And so we see here, Vutanko pan etang bhagavata. So this was said indeed by the Blessed One. Don't worry about that so much. And what's more interesting to me is what comes next. And I'll read it first for you. Yo paticca samupadang pasati, so dhammang pasati. Yo dhammang pasati, so paticca samupadang pasati. So here, the crucial word is paticca samuppada, which is dependent origination. And notice here we have our yos and our sos. So one which sees dependent origination, that one sees the Dhamma. One who, or which, sees the Dhamma, that one sees dependent origination. So you hopefully have this in your file too if you've taken it from our website. So I'll do it one more time in a literal sense. Notice this is probably not how I would translate it in English because it has sort of too many pronouns, but one who sees dependent origination, that one sees the Dhamma. And one who sees the Dhamma, that one sees dependent origination. So notice this so is probably omitted in an English translation. And so that's our sort of first pass through the correlative, so-called correlative construction. And we're going to wrap for today. And next class, we're going to take, the further readings, some of them at least, because it has some nice constructions like this. And we'll put my file, if you like, up on the website too. We have yang and tang, yo and so, and we'll see how those work and we'll get a feel for it. So now at the end of our class, I'll ask if there's any final quick questions about things that I've just covered. And if not, we just have a couple of announcements to finish up. So I don't see any questions, so I hope I haven't knocked you all out cold, and I hope you can hear me. Let me just check. Regina, are you there?
Yes, I am, Stephen. I'm here.
Good, just checking. So let me make my first announcement, which is simply, or not so simply, that the Venerable Bodhi, that is Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi, noticed that there was a lot of interest in this class. And so he had the idea that this class shouldn't end, that this class should be continued. And so people can continue studying Pali if they so wish. And so our idea now is to continue this class following a week break. And so, as you know, this class is scheduled to finish on Wednesday, or the next class may be for you on Thursday morning. That would be the 10th class. And then we're going to have a week off, and then we'll have 9 more classes. on the same schedule twice a week, and we'll put that schedule up online. We're calling this Pali Basics 2. It's simply a continuation of what we've been doing. We'll continue on in our book, and I hope this will be of interest to many of you. And we'll put the dates, but it's essentially the same schedule, but after next class, we'll take 1 week break, and then we'll have 9 classes. There's a missing class you'll see because of the retreat that's happening, which I think now I'll pass it to Regina, who has some more announcements for us.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen. That's really, really great news. I know that I'm really looking forward to Pali Basics Level 2. And especially after tonight, it was very exciting being able to hear people actually translating verses of the Dhammapada. That was so inspirational. So thank you, everyone. I just wanted to announce a reminder that Venerable Bodhi teaches Sutta study every Saturday, and I believe the meditation begins at 9:30. Is that correct, Stephen?
Meditation at 9:30 a.m. and the lecture begins at 10:10.
Okay, very good. And the lecture begins at 10. Also, at the Chungyan Monastery, Venerable Bodhi will be having his annual Abhidhamma retreat. However, this time it will be entirely online. I encourage you, if this sounds of interest to you, to check out the website. It's baus.org and find out more information about the Abhidhamma retreat. People are signing up already. It should be very exciting. And also just a reminder that Stephen and I teach Sutta study every Sunday and Thursday night from 7 p.m. to 7:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're all invited. It's so much fun. And you can find more information at suttaandthecity.com. So thank you so much, Stephen, for a great class. And thank you, everyone, for sticking around for announcements.
Thank you all very much. I hope you enjoyed this class. I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.